Today we're going to look at what is RFK going to do to fix toxic food in America. So Robert F. Kennedy wants to stop what he calls the mass poisoning of all Americans, especially children. We are being poisoned every day through ultra-processed foods. Almost every food you find in the grocery store is ultra-processed, from sugary cereals to breads and pasta. So RFK Jr. aims to go after the harmful ingredients in foods, especially those marketed to kids. We need to get things like artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives that are common in many packaged foods out of the foods we eat. If he can pull this off, you can expect stricter rules on food labeling and safety checks. He wants to manage changes to the U.S. food and drug system as part of his Make America Healthy Again plan. Now, this would mean more natural ingredients in your food and fewer chemicals that you or I can't even pronounce. Just go out and read a few labels to see what you are eating. 99% of the people in America have no idea what half of those ingredients are and how these toxic ingredients affect your health. I know one thing, these chemicals in our food are just making Americans sick and overweight. Okay, so what is RFK's strategic approach to eliminating toxic food in America? Number one, FDA regulation, right? He aims to rewrite FDA rules on food additives. This could lead to stricter controls on what goes into food, and this is exactly what we need, and it needs to be really as strict as Europe is, because Europe is really strict on what goes into foods. Number two, you have ultra processed foods. So you will hopefully see changes in your favorite snacks. The plan will focus on these ultra processed foods in our grocery store, and they oftentimes have harmful additives that are not good for us. Number three, you have food dyes, which is what makes those bright colors and like cereals and candies. And they want to look at what is in these dyes to see what needs to be removed from our foods. Number four, you have, focusing on public health. So they're going to shake up the American public health, which hopefully means new policies that will affect what you eat and drink. And then number five, you have industry collaboration. So they really need to force these food companies to reduce harmful ingredients in products. They already do it in Europe. Why can't they do it here in the US? So you can expect to see changes in food labeling and ingredients lists. So RFK Jr.'s plan could lead to healthier options on your grocery store shelves, hopefully sooner than later. Now, this is not going to happen overnight. It's a very complex process involving many stakeholders in the food industry and government, but it has to be done. You and I are getting sick, and here is what's being proposed to stop poisoning us Americans. Number one, food safety. So RFK Jr. wants to introduce that Food Safety Enhancement Act to overhaul the current regulations that are out there. The act would strengthen oversight of food production and processing. Key proposals in this would include like increasing inspections of food facilities, enhancing the traceability of food products, implementing stricter pesticide testing. I'm going to be honest with you, we should be doing this right now, and thank goodness we have somebody ready to do it for the future of America. Number two, you have nutritional labeling. They want to revamp the nutritional labeling laws to give you clearer information. The proposed changes include larger, more visible calorie counts on packaging, clearer listings of added sugars and artificial ingredients, mandatory labeling of GMO ingredients, tougher penalties for food safety violations under this plan, and then companies would also face higher fines for contamination incidents that come up. Three, also wants to change institutional foods. So imagine being sick, weak, and confined to a hospital bed or a nursing home bed. This could be a family member or a close friend, and they're craving something nutritious, something that will help them heal. But instead of a wholesome meal, they're offered a tasteless processed food that's barely recognizable as food. And this is the harsh reality of institutional food. The food served in hospitals, nursing homes, prisons, and schools, it's often low quality, over processed, and devoid of the nutrients our body really needs to thrive. The consequences of this neglect are severe. Poor nutrition can weaken our immune systems, it'll slow down our healing, and it'll even lead to chronic diseases, which we see already in our population. Imagine a world where the very places designed to care for us and our family members are actually harming all of us. It's disturbing reality that needs really immediate attention by the new administration. So they're looking at removing artificial ingredients from school meals, nursing homes, and prisons, adding more fruits and vegetables to the different foods for, hospitals, nursing homes, and schools. And then they're going to encourage institutions to buy from local farmers. So RFK really wants to look at updating the food testing procedures to catch more contaminants in our food. You'll see new tech used to spot harmful chemicals and pathogens in food. These tests will be faster and more precise than old methods. I know that I want to see less poison in my food, and I'm sure you do too. They also want to make sure the labs have better equipment to find those tiny amounts of toxins in food. And food companies will need to do more regular checks. The goal is to catch the problems before the food reaches your plate. The administration plans to increase surprise inspections at food plants, and this will keep producers on their toes and ensure they follow the rules. All right, 5, how would they handle subsidized foods? So we're going to discuss the hidden cost of your groceries. Did you know that the food you buy at the grocery store is often subsidized by taxpayers? This means that the government pays farmers to grow certain crops, like corn, soy, wheat, and sugar. Now, why does this matter? Well, these subsidized crops are often used to make processed foods. Sugary drinks, chips, fast food, all this junk that we're eating, they subsidize. And by subsidizing these crops, the government is indirectly encouraging the production of unhealthy foods. Imagine a small farmer trying to grow healthy organic produce, and they have to compete with large farms that receive government subsidies. It's like trying to run a marathon while carrying a heavy weight. To improve our health, we need to support small farmers who are producing nutritious food. By shifting subsidies from unhealthy crops to healthy ones, we can create a food system that promotes well-being. Next, the Department of Agriculture is trying to prevent you, the consumer, from buying from organic farms. Amos Miller, an Amish farmer from Bird in Hand, Pennsylvania, is being sued by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture in 2024. And this lawsuit comes just 1 year after the conclusion of the federal government's case against Miller Organic Farm. You can look this up online to get more information. The private membership associations like Miller's Organic Farm and herd shares are the last ways for small farmers to provide products directly to consumers without government intervention. These associations also allow consumers to opt out of the centralized agricultural system. Now, if the government can delegitimize or bankrupt Miller's 4,000 plus member private membership association, it's going to have severe consequences for thousands of other small farmers across the USA who operate under the same framework. This case is not just about Amos Miller, it's about the government's potential control over the food that people eat. There goes one of your best ways to get healthy food for you and your family is these organic farms. Okay, 6, FDA is in bed with Big Pharma. So the FDA, the agency that regulates food and drugs, has a big problem. Many people who work for the FDA will later go on to work for big drug, chemical, and food companies. This is clearly a conflict of interest, as it can influence the decisions made by the FDA. The dietary guidelines, which tell us what to eat, are also influenced by the food industry. So 9 out of 20 people who created these guidelines had ties to the food industry. Now, a group called the U.S. Right to Know used the Freedom of Information Act to look at documents between Coca-Cola and dietitian organizations. They found that Coca-Cola gave millions of dollars to dietitians, and this money was used to pay for education, conferences, and speakers, which could influence what dietitians recommend to people. I know it's crazy to think about how our government systems are set up to make us sick and dependent on the healthcare system here. Someone is getting rich, and they are getting rich by making us sick. Every time you go to the doctor and you have an issue, they usually just say, hey, take a pill. Not, hey, maybe you should lose some weight. Maybe you should exercise. Maybe you should quit eating the, you know, food that's making you sick. So maybe it's time we just start eating healthy and just avoid these processed foods and these companies that are selling them. I know it's easier said than done because it's everywhere. So let me know what you think in the comments section, and then check out our other videos on health as you age.